What up and welcome, the golden era. We got games 3 and 4, we got highlights, we got reactions. You know the deal, roll the tape. Let's pick things up for game 3, Warriors-Wolves late in the fourth. The Wolves on top by 4, make it 6 from Marcus Workman. Jacob Cuxick in his bag, going at Javon Roll. The little floater hook over top pushes it to an 8-point game. Warriors needing a bucket to try to make this thing close. Caden Dickerson will provide 6 points. Timeout on the floor. Buck 45, Cuxick again after really tough first 2 games from Jacob Cuxick. He answers with the basket there, and then the next time down to put this thing out of reach, he'll do it. Cuxick ends with 24, 28 from Ogilvy, and the Wolves on the board, 128. 121. Let's check out some other action. How about Nets and the Magic? Magic trying to stay alive, down 2-0. Jair Dooling delivers the basket, making it a 1-point Magic lead. The next time down, ball in the hands of Brighton Reed. Pull up, step back, Jimmy. Good. And the Nets get a 113-112. Dramatic win giving the Magic an 0-3 deficit. Pacers trying to avoid an 0-3 deficit of their own at home in Game 3. Up by 1. Malik Hightower. Pull up. Bang. And the Hornets go up by 2. One last chance for the Pacers to try to tie this thing up in the paint, and Robert Mack has ideas. The block at the buzzer, and the Hornets take a 3-0 series lead despite 31 from Jace Redding. Elsewhere in the Eastern Conference, Heat on top 2-1 despite just 6 points from John Morant, 24-10 from Jonathan Kuminga, 7 points from Javon Stokes, and then a dramatic, explosive 144-138 win despite 35-36 from Qualls and Petrus. Not enough for the Milwaukee Bucks. Let's head over to the Western Conference where the Rockets go up 2-1 behind a good night from Darnell Gist, despite a great night from Jason Sanders. The Thunder 35 from Tobias Bell gets it done in a 5-point victory. And the Venom not going to take Game 1 at home, Game 3 in the series, as a really beat-em-up, bludgeoned game, 104-100. And the Sonics on the board there, 2-1 Venom as we head to Game 4. Let's head to Game 4 in Minnesota. Not much of a competitive one as we pick it up with 8 minutes to go in the fourth. Triple there, and it's a 19-point advantage for Minnesota. Javon Roll trying to get this squad back into it. Step back triple goes. But Minnesota having other ideas, and Jacob Cuxick thriving at home. The pull-up triple. Here comes Darian Hairston to the rack. The block, but Abiz Ojale, the offensive board, and the finish over top puts it back to 19-5. Just under 6 minutes to go. Cuxick guarded by Roll. Handoff to Ojale. The push shot falls. And a 117-101 win. Ojale fantastic in Game 4. And we're tied at 2 apiece in Minnesota, Golden State. Elsewhere, the Magic, they're going to avoid the sweep. They get a 121-107 victory. The Hornets, they close out the Pacers with a 115-109 win. The Bulls rally back. Huge win. 33-31 from Stokes and Motley. Series tied there. And the Celtics on the cusp of advancing with a 111-101 win thanks to 23 points from Jalen Justice and an efficient 17 points in 17 minutes from Xavier Ashley. Elsewhere, the Thunder have put the Suns on the brink with a pair of home wins, 35 points again from Tobias Bell. The Kings get it done at home, 120-114. And then the Venom, surprise, surprise, another defensive showdown, but 23 points enough from Corey Flynn. And the Venom have a 3-1 series lead thanks to a 95-93 win at home in Game 4. Well, we got a tie series in Golden State, Minnesota. I said this on the last show. I don't like ruling out series until both teams have had a chance to play at home, and yet I still sort of kind of did that. My bad, because Abiz Ojale is back, I guess. He was awesome in Minnesota. 28, 13, and 14 in a triple-double in Game 3 puts him on the board, and then a 36 and 12 in Game 4 to tie things up at 2 games apiece. I don't want to gloss over that fact because I think that matters. We need to talk about it. If I've done this with the Jazz, I say if I'm gonna kick you when you're down, I've got to at least like sort of support you when you're up. We kicked you when they were down. Abiz Ojale was not good. Jacob Kuxis was not good. Darian Hairston was good. This team wasn't good, and Minnesota looked like they were done for. And then they turned things around, and they were the polar opposites of themselves in the home games, and that's because of Abiz Ojale. I mean, again, you talk about those first two games, and you say, tell me who the MVP is, and you're not going to pick Ojale. You tell me who the MVP is from games 3 and 4, you're going to look at Abiz Ojale and say, I think it's that guy, and you'd be right. Golden State had no answer for him. I don't think that anybody expected Russell Kingston and Sasha Kasparov to be able to throw a no-hitter, essentially, against Abiz Ojale. But in game 3 and 4, it wasn't that they weren't just not throwing a no-hitter. They were giving up back-to-back-to-back home runs. Ojale was fantastic, and that deserves its own individual recognition. Acknowledged. Golden State lost this series because Javon Roll took 23 shots over both games 3 and 4. That's not the recipe for a victory. You have to find a way to get him the ball better. And the simple mathematics of it are Damian Pack. In game 3, 8 for 19. In game 4, 6 for 14. Now, those aren't terrible games, just under 50%. That's pretty much what Damian Pack does on his way to becoming likely the 6th man of the year. But you cannot have Javon Roll, who took probably, I don't remember the exact number, but probably somewhere around 20 shots in game 2 on his way to 40 points. He can't take 23 shots in both games 3 and 4. That's why Golden State's where they are. We can sit here and we should that keeping Abiz Ojale under wraps was never going to happen, and he was going to have his big games, and he did, and that's recognizable. But Golden State just didn't play well. And if, again, we're going to hype you up, we got to acknowledge a bad one. Deontay Dixon on the road was terrible, especially in Game 3. 5 for 24. You're going to look at his scoring numbers, I think 24. Be like, hey, not a bad... No, this was a bad game. In a game that you lost by 7, having Javon Roll take, I think it was 10 shots. Might have been 8 shots. I can't remember. It was not a lot. And having Deontay Dixon go 5 for 24... As great as Abiz Ojale was, that is why Golden State is coming back to the Bay Area, tied at 2 games apiece for a huge swing Game 5. The good news for the Warriors, Abiz Ojale has been terrible in this series on the road. We will see if that continues in Game 5. But they need to get the ball more to Javon Roll as this series has become essentially a best 2 out of 3. Let's shift things to Phoenix and Oklahoma City. Let me know if at the beginning of this postseason you had the Phoenix Suns trailing Oklahoma City 3-1 as we head back to Phoenix for Game 5. I promise you, unless you're sipping on that baby blue, sky blue Kool-Aid down in Oklahoma, you are not. We could talk ad nauseum about Cade Cunningham and his inability to do anything of relevance in this. You wouldn't be wrong. He's averaging 10 points a game. He's shooting 27% from the floor. We talk back to that Game 1, right? 1 point. He just hasn't been good. But that would feel unfair, and that would feel glass half empty. And let's try to be positive. Let's be positive about the fact that Tobias Bell is absolutely cooking. Across both Games 3 and 4, he scored 35 points in each. 7 for 12 in Game 4 from deep. 15 for 23 overall in Game 3. He has been otherworldly. And this is honestly a continuation for Tobias Bell of a guy that hasn't really gotten a lot of respect. And I think he kind of deserves it. I mean, we talked last episode about how good the Thunder have been since the 2024, honestly, maybe 2023-24 season, like a decade plus of this team being really good. The last 5 years of it, Tobias Bell has been fantastic. Conference finals a year ago with 57 wins. 50-win team that, honestly, Oklahoma City is not going to be a 50-win team if Tobias Bell isn't hurt down the stretch. And that's the only reason that they end up here as the number 6 seed. And there may have been a universe where they sit here and say, we kind of want Seattle, especially when we look at what Seattle's doing, down 3-1 to the Venom. What's going on there? But they've been so good because Tobias Bell has been so good. He's an all-star caliber, not an all-star. He is an all-star guard. He's an all-NBA caliber guard who scores a boatload, who is everything about Seattle, where it's an elite scoring guard surrounded by all these awesome, big, physical wings, except he actually wins basketball games. You could see or say they need another star. No, just Cisnauskas is freaking awesome. Davis Montgomery is again doing a fantastic postseason appearance where he's just getting buckets. And Tobias Bell continues to be the best player on this basketball team. Shout out to him. They're one win away from advancing to the conference semifinals. If they get that win, there's a very real chance that they're playing the Las Vegas Venom when they get there. You're going to favor... Look, I don't want to count out Las Vegas. I don't want to start counting any of the dollars when we haven't been paid. But both teams are up 3-1. If we get that matchup in the next round, yes, you just took down Seattle, but Oklahoma City, we're picking Oklahoma City, right? Like, we have to. So there's a future here if Oklahoma City can close this thing out, and if Las Vegas closes this thing out, that we're going to get OKC versus Las Vegas, and it very well could be back-to-back conference semifinals for a team led by conference finals, because you might pick the Thunder led by Tobias Bell. That's not nothing. That is impressive. We got one more 3-1 series to talk about, and that is the Nets and the Magic. The Magic winning Game 4, keeping their series alive, keeping their season alive. A team that a year ago got swept by the Nets. They had that awesome Game 4 that went to overtime. They end up losing that one. This time they actually get things done. But the reason this thing is 3-1 is because Brighton Reed might be the best clutch postseason player of this generation. A year ago, he has huge games down the stretch as they rallied back in the conference finals. He had some game winners there. He had a huge game winner over Javon Stokes. Does it again against Orlando in Game 3. The game-winning shot over top of Trey Hunter, a 113-112. And you want to talk about how much that shifts things? I don't love just taking, well, if Team A won this game, and we already know they won this game, then they would have won both of them. I don't know that's the case. I think Game 4 looks a heck of a lot different if you're Brooklyn, if it's 2-1, as opposed to being up 3-0 against a team that you swept a season ago in the playoffs. However, you could, let's gander down that path. If Orlando wins Game 3, and they win Game 4, we've got a tie game going back home to Brooklyn. But it's not that, because Brighton Reed has been fantastic. He's a elite clutch scorer. This series has belonged to Rashawn Matthews because Orlando has nobody in the paint who can slow him down. But Brighton Reed is elite. He's a guy that only has one All-NBA selection to his name right now. A lot of that is due to the fact that there's so many guards. He doesn't rebound out of high clips, so his PER and other analytical figures are going to be a little bit lower for you nerds out there who love it. This guy just gets buckets. Multiple 40-point games last season as he rallied the Nets back down from a 3-1 deficit against the Bulls in the conference finals. And here we are. He's doing it again, and he's got the Nets one win away from another advancement. We've talked about Oklahoma City and saying, hey, do you remember when the Thunder were doing all these awesome things? Yeah, you do? Okay, well, it's not as if the Nets haven't been doing all of these awesome things with him as their best player. You're talking about 2 conference finals trips in the last 3 years, obviously not this year included. 50-plus wins in the last 5 years, or the last 4 years. The year before that was the 8th seed, where they pulled the upset, and that was obviously the Rashawn Matthews-led one. Or was it Louis Morgan? I don't know. It was too long ago for me to remember. Getting old, apparently. But his presence has made this team awesome. They're up 3-1, and he's awesome. And let's close out our 4-piece chicken McNugget in the first round with more Jonathan Kuminga. Goonies never say die. Goonies never say die, man. Kuminga's doing awesome. And Kuminga's doing awesome because, well, Chicago can't defend the wing. We learned this last year in the conference finals. Excuse me, not in the conference finals, in the NBA finals, but also a little bit in the conference finals. But in the NBA finals, they couldn't slow down Deontay Dixon from the floor. I mean, Deontay Dixon shot 51% from the floor in that series on his way to finals MVP, despite shooting 25% on high volume from deep. I mean, the guy was getting to the paint whenever he wanted because they don't have a wing stopper. Javon Stokes is an elite point guard defender. It's a big part of why Javon Roll did not have a great series. Deontay Dixon cooked him. So did Jonathan Kuminga, actually. 16 points per game in that series, shot 48% from the floor, 37% from deep, was fantastic. He's doing that again here as the Chicago Bulls are going back to Chicago, where plenty of people would have said, this thing's a wrap. the Bulls, especially after what we saw in them coming back in Game 2 and winning. You're saying this is done? Not so much. Kuminga, 24-10 in a Game 3 win. Very efficient in the Game 4 loss. This is not going to be an easy pathway out for for Chicago. Orlando might be a pretty easy pathway out. But the Bulls are sitting here, and you're getting all you can handle because Goonies never say die.